Welcome back, everyone. For today's video, we are going to return to one of our favorite activities, which is playing against the bots on chess.com. Now, chess.com is adding more and more bots every single month between personalities, streamers, celebrities, and now there are many famous football and basketball athletes as well. So what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be playing against a couple of the new bots which have been recently added, very specifically against the Larry Fitzgerald Jr. bot as well as the Chidobe Awuzie bot. Now, as you will probably know, Larry Fitzgerald, very famous wide receiver. I am not sure if he's in the Hall of Fame yet. If he isn't, he will be one of the greatest wide receivers of all time. And of course, Chidobe Awuzie, who is a cornerback on the Cincinnati Bengals, currently active, but also a very strong chess player, someone that I had a little bit of interaction with during the pandemic when he was playing chess on Twitch. But he also won the inaugural Blitz Champs tournament on chess.com as well. So I'm going to be playing against them with Queen Oz, and let's see how it goes. Here we go. First off, we're going to be playing against Larry Fitzgerald with Queen Odds. Again, rating is 1250. Let's see how I do. So I'm going to start with E3, start with a traditional Botez gambit. Let's go knight to F3. Now, Larry plays queen to D6 here. Reasonable move, not the absolute best move, but I have to figure out if I play D4, will he play queen G6 or bishop F5? If he doesn't play either queen G6 or bishop F5, I think I'm in very good shape, but I think that's too big of a risk to take, so I'm just going to play D3 here and develop my king out of the center of the board. Larry goes E4, and now I'll play knight to D2, and he goes bishop F5. Now, one important thing from our Botez Gambit speedrun series that we did is that you want to keep the position closed against a weaker player. Less trades from the get-go, more chances of mistakes. So I'm going to play D4 here. Okay, Larry goes knight D7. Now, one thing about the bot that I'm noticing is that it does move instantly, so it's going to make some mistakes. Let's play C4, knight E7. Let's go knight C3, plays A5. Now, I could take the pawn on D5. I could also go B3 here. I could also just castle my king out of the center of the board. Now, one of the drawbacks of trading pawns here is that they're going to be immediate trades, even though I can win a pawn on E4. So if takes, after takes, I've won one pawn for the queen, but when you're down a queen to start, you need to try and be aggressive. You need to avoid trades as much as possible, and you want to win material for free. Obviously, easier said than done, but that is the goal. So I'm going to go knight B5. He plays queen C6, which is a good move. I'm going to go B3, support the pawn on C4, and now let's go bishop B2, idea of rook C1. Now, Larry takes on C4, and I'm left with an interesting choice. Now, I could take with the knight here, and after queen takes knight, I have knight D6, forking the king and the queen, but I am giving away two knights. So currently I'm down a queen, so if that were to happen, I transform to where I get a queen back, but then I'm down two knights, and I think down two knights is probably too much, so I'm just going to take with the pawn and keep guarding the knight on D5. Now, Larry plays H5, and he's getting into some trouble after D5. The queen is a little bit stuck here. There's an instant mate in Uno if I can take the pawn, so I think I'm in very good shape here after bishop D4. Larry takes on D5. If he were to move the queen anywhere, D6 I take, B6 I take. If you go to B4, you get mated in one. So now Larry takes the pawn on D5, and material will be even after I take the queen and I take the knight. Now, in this position, black, I guess tentatively is still up one pawn. You have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, 1 2 3 4 5 6, but I'm only down a pawn here. I should win this game. Let's castle the king. Larry goes knight D3, and now what I want to figure out is how to proceed. I can maybe go knight C3 and take the pawn. I can also take and play E4. I can also try to go rook C1 down the road. I think knight C3 is the most logical move. Larry goes rook D8. I will take the pawn. He takes, I take, he takes. Still up one pawn temporarily, but after A3 stopping knight B4, I can now go rook to D1, pinning the knight. Larry takes the pawn, and after rook takes knight, now I simply have one extra knight. In return, black does have two pawns on the queen side, but for a grandmaster level player with good technique, this should be pretty straightforward. So I'm going to go knight to C3, attacking the pawn. Larry goes bishop B4. I'm going to go here, hitting the pawn and the bishop. He goes G6, and now I can take the pawn or take the bishop. Now, both are probably quite good, but I think I should just take the pawn here, because in this position, black has two pawns for the knight, but it's much easier to stop the two pawns down the board than the initial three. So he goes bishop C5. Let's go rook to B1. King C8 is a blunder, because now I play rook C1, pinning the bishop. Plays B6. I can take the pawn because you can't recapture, and now the rest should be very straightforward. He goes king C7. King B7 would be slightly better, because after king C7 I can move the knight. Bishop is still pinned, and now I win the game very easily. Rook C8. Let's trade the rooks now, because here I have the extra bishop and the knight, and now I'll just try to trade off some pawns, and the rest will be really basic. No, I don't even really need to explain what I'm doing here. Let's start pushing. Let's go here. I'm just going to use these two pawns on the king side, and let's go here, and now I'll just start pushing the pawns. Let's go here, I push, and I think after h7, king h8, g7, that's mate. If king f8, I make a queen. So I check, and now it's just checkmate because the bishop guards the pawn. And we win against Larry Fitzgerald with queen odds. Now, this game was pretty straightforward. I guess 1250 is a bit low. Now, in the past, I believe that I did play against the Gordon Hayward bot, which I think was about 1700 level, and I got steamrolled when I played with queen odds. So we're just looking at the bots purely from a rating standpoint. I think that probably somewhere around 1400 should be the level where I cannot beat them. But we will see, because obviously we have another bot to play against, which of course is the Chidobe Awuzie bot, which is slightly higher rated at 1400. So again, I'm going to start with queen odds, and let's see if I can survive. So let's go e3 here. Chidobe plays e5. Now, slightly better start. I think what I'm going to do is typical of my Botez Gambit speed runs. I'm going to play g3. We get d5. I will play d3 here. Queen d6. Now, this is the exact same opening that Larry Fitzgerald bot played. Of course, I played it slightly differently with the knights out a little bit quicker here. Nonetheless, I think I should probably go bishop g2. Plays bishop g4. I'm going to go h3 to kick the bishop. Now, it's very good that it plays bishop f5, because if it had gone bishop h5, I would not be able to develop this knight easily. And I think that if I develop the knight, black will just trade the bishop for the knight. So now I can develop no trade of the bishop for the knight, and this is looking pretty decent. Bishop e7. Now, the big question for me is, how do I proceed? Do I try to play knight c3 and e4 in the center? Do I hope it plays e4, d4 and lock the center like against the Larry Fitzgerald bot? What do I do? Now, my instinct is that castles is probably not right, just because there might be queen d7 or h5. On the other hand, the bot is only 1400. That being said, let's just go a3 and wait. So we get knight c6. I'm going to play knight c3, attacking the pawn. Okay, we get bishop to e6, solid move. And now I really don't want to castle here. I maybe can go knight b5, but then just queen d7. So I think I'm just going to play b3 and bishop b2, get rook to d8, and now I'm going to actually castle to the queen side, maybe move my king. Okay, king, he castles on, I move my king to b1, he castles on the king side, and now let's see what I should do. I can play d4 or e4, maybe f4 is also a move. G4 is possible, but I think the idea of stacking on the h file is a little bit too slow and not all that realistic. So I'm going to go f4 here. Now we get d4, which is a big surprise to me, because now I should be able to win material. But do I go knight b5 or do I take first? Now if I take first, there's queen e5, pawn is still guarded, so I'm going to go here and attack the queen. We get queen c5. I will now I guess if I take, he can take on b5, which isn't great. So I think I'm going to I missed that he has queen b5, but it's 1400. It won't take the knight, will it? Actually, it will. Okay, let's go e4. We get queen c5. Now I'm going to go knight to f4, attacking the bishop. We get bishop d7. This is not looking very good for me. So I'm going to go here, try to win the pawn. We get g6. Go rook f1 maybe. Bishop e5. Okay, now I'm just going to move the bishop to guard the pawns. We get a5. This is already looking very bad. I guess I'll go g4 to attack. King h7 is a mistake. I thought it would just take, but now maybe after takes, a knight d5. I'm trying to do something here. I don't quite know what I'm doing, but I'm trying to do something to create counterplay. Now I presume that the bot, because its rating is 1400, will inevitably blunder at some point, but there are obviously no guarantees. So here I think knight f6 is reasonable, just to trade this great wooden shield. I don't really want to trade anything, but I can't avoid a trade. So it's a question of whether I let this trade happen and I try to use the light square bishop, or do I go knight f6 and get rid of the dark square bishop. I think this has to be correct. Get king g7. Now I could play h6 check, which I think is probably the right approach. Maybe I go h4, maybe bishop c1. I also have rook g1 here, trying to find the right move. I think h4 looks correct. Okay, so he takes. Now wait a second, that's actually a blunder, because if I take with a double check, after king g5 I have rook h5, or maybe even bishop c1, and if he goes back I can take and mate him. Wait, this is a huge mistake. So I take. Okay, king g5. I almost feel like there should be a checkmate. Check here, check, but then the king runs back to d6. If I play rook h5, king g6 check, he can block, but I can also just take the queen. So, or I can check and king here, check king g7. This is so tricky. I feel like I should be winning here. But I don't see a mate. So wait, if I check king g6, I should look at this, because if I miss the mate, then everybody in the video comments will be like, oh my god, Hikaru missed a forced mate in 6. Like, what's wrong with him? He's so bad at chess. So I want to make sure. Now, what I just realized here is, do I have bishop to h5? Like maybe bishop h5 with the idea of bishop c1 is almost a forced checkmate, and if king h6 I can take, but the king escapes. So while I want to look for the forced checkmate, and I suspect there might be a forced checkmate here, I should probably just take the straightforward approach with check and take the queen. Now I'm still down a piece here after rook c5, but the king is very loose on g6, and I feel like I should have a way to win. So let's go if I go check king f6, there's no clear-cut mate, but nonetheless, or I can play rook h5. I think I should go check to attack the king. Now maybe I go e5 checks after takes. I have rook f1, and if king f5 bishop g4, king f4 bishop c1, that should be winning. So let's go check. Let's go check. Oh, I missed bishop f5. Oops, I completely missed bishop f5. Whoops, big mistake. Okay, that's a huge mistake. Now I'll take the pawn. We get b6. I guess I'll go rook to b7 attacking the pawn. Maybe b4 to overload the bishop, because I can take knight c6 is just a blunder. Bishop d6 would have been the best move, but because after knight c6 I just take. Now obviously the bot is low rated. I think it's programmed to make blunders every so often. Nonetheless, a little bit of a disappointment that it blunders the knight cleanly, because now after I trade the rooks, I have bishop to g4. The bishop is pinned, and now I can take with check, and the only trick that black has left is bishop to a3. So now I'm going to go, well, I was going to go rook a5, but there is bishop b4 and bishop c3, so maybe I just quietly scoot the king to c1, and after rook to b4, now I will trade the bishops. I'm going to go bishop to a3, trade the bishops on d6, take the pawn on f7, and now I have a rook, bishop, and a pawn for the rook, and this will be very simple. Let's go here, trade the rooks, and with a bishop and a pawn, I can just win the game quite easily. Let's go check, king here. Now let's go bishop h5, bishop to f7. Important move, by the way, because when I go here, the king can no longer go to either d5 or e4. Both squares are covered. So after king to f6, I will take the pawn. Let's go king to c5. I'm actually going to force it to take the bishop. Maybe I can't. I was going to force it, but now I guess, okay, I'll just push the pawn up the board and make a queen. Let's go queen to c2, king to f3, and now after king f1, we have queen to f2, which is checkmate. So I get the win here. Now overall, the bot played quite well. If we click on the analysis button just to take a look at the game, it played quite well, but what I want to see is somewhere right around here. It played king g7, allowing h6, and king takes h6 was a slight mistake. Of course, it's still winning, but king to h8 would have been better. Simply putting the king in the corner, and now I can no longer attack the king. I have a great knight, a great pawn, but there are no attacks here, and black can just go something like, let's just say I play, I don't know, rook g1. Black can simply go a4, b4, sack the knight here, and with a3 incoming, black is completely winning. But after takes and h4, it's still winning, but you have to go rook to h8. After takes, king g5 is best. Actually, it is winning for black. I assume that I had a checkmate here, but I don't. Rook h5 is correct. Takes is correct. Bishop to e7 is a mistake. Apparently bishop to e5, bishop c1, and then probably f6. You solidify the bishop on e5, and after rook g1, king f7, I can go check king e7, but black is going to play either king to d6 or bishop d6, trapping this rook on c5, and black is completely winning. So bishop to e7 was a mistake. I check. I get e5, which maybe is not the best move. Maybe I should just make a draw by repeating, but e5 does win a knight here, and against a 1400 rated player, I do want to win back the material. I take, and this is still quite good, and then knight c6 is just a huge blunder. After bishop to d6, probably bishop takes d4 and rook b8. Black maintains some sort of advantage. Again, for 1400, I don't think I would lose this against any true 1400 rated player, but nonetheless black remains better. But after knight c6 takes and bishop g4, the rest is very straightforward, and I just win the game. So we do play against both of these bots. We play against the Larry Fitzgerald Jr. bot as well as the Chidobe Awuzie bot. Both very famous football players. Larry is in the Hall of Fame. I did check that while I was just checking a little bit during the video. Chidobe not in the Hall of Fame yet, but he does play for the Cincinnati Bengals. Very, very prominent cornerback. He'll probably be in the Hall of Fame one day. But most importantly, both of these guys are huge chess aficionados. I do believe that both of them will be competing in the upcoming Blitz Champs 2, which is an event held for football players on chess.com. So it'll be really interesting to see them test their skills. Maybe in the future, perhaps I'll have a chance to actually play against them in person with queen odds. That would be really, really cool if that ever happens. Of course, we will record a video of those games. But for right now, we did play against both of their bots on chess.com. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already, and we'll keep bringing you more great YouTube only content in the near future. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. See you soon. Bye.